Back to the Culture Call on Praise 93.3 with L. Spencer Smith. Our desire is to reach and empower the community by discussing a cross-section of relevant topics from various perspectives that are essential to its growth and interpersonal connections. Be sure to save our call-in number, 205-752-4800. Be sure to install the free Praise 93.3 app so you can send L. Spencer Smith a message or topic idea. Search for WTSK in your app store.
This is a world premiere.
Great morning, great morning, great morning, precious people. You know what time it is. Yeah, it's time for the Culture Call right here with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith on Praise 93.3 FM. It is indeed the place where Tuscaloosa meets the world. Absolutely. And for the next 2 hours from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., we're going to be talking a little bit about everything, y'all. A little bit about everything from society to sports, education to economics, from religion to relationships. And we are here to create a safe space. That's right, a safe space to have empowering, productive, provocative, and sometimes controversial conversations. And guess what? You can call in and or chat it up with me as we learn together right here on the Culture Call. Y'all know what? I always remind you of this, and I've gotten some people hit me up saying, hey, I'm on this app. Listen, do it. Join them. Go ahead to your smart device, your phone where you get your apps and download your apps from, and search out Praise 93.3 FM app. You can find our app there and download it. It's free, $99. Doesn't cost a thing. And you can listen to us from wherever you are all around the world. That's right, all around the world. There's not a place we won't reach. There's not a place we won't teach if you download that app. And of course, as I say every morning, you can always hit me up with your public service announcements or your events at culturecall.praise@gmail.com. That's culturecall.praise@gmail.com, and give yours truly, me, an opportunity to tell everybody what's happening in your neck of the woods, what's going on in your church, what's going on with your organization, your sorority or fraternity, your school. Doesn't matter what it is. If you send it in, I'm going to let everybody know. Why? Because we want to create traffic where you are. We want folks to feet them, show up. Yeah, we don't want any empty seats to where you are. So yeah, we want to share it. Why? Because we do it better when we do it together. And every morning I remind you, 205-752-4800. That's the number to call. That's the golden number, 205-752-4800. Or you can chat it up with me on the app. That's right. You can go on the app and tell me if I'm doing a good job, ask me questions, give me points. I'll talk about it on the air. Or you can tell me, hey, L, you stinking up the joint, get off the radio. Whatever it is, hey, hit me up. That's right. And we can all be a part of the conversation because I definitely want to hear from you. Hey, listen, sit back, relax, grab you some coffee. Y'all know what it is. Maxwell House of Starbucks, right? Get you some herbal tea, whether it's chamomile or what? Green tea. That's right. Get your little caffeine kick. Or you can get some alkaline water. Get down to the cellular level, detox that body. That's right. Get hydrated, and let's get into the culture. My goodness, it has been a week on the Culture Call, and you all have been responding, amazingly. Hit me up on Facebook and my social media, and hit me up on the chat, just letting me know how you really think of what you're really thinking about this whole topic of accountability. And I didn't know it was so much of a topic in demand. I really did not know that it was that kind of demand placed on that topic. So shout out to James Evans from Baltimore, Maryland, this is a viewer's choice or a listener's choice topic that talking about accountability. And I'm really glad that I did. Because there's so much going on in the world. There's so much going on in our country, in our state, in our city. And at the root of all of that is going on, I believe that there is a foundation of accountability, or better yet, a lack thereof, that causes things to go on. And so we need to bring to our awareness as a community what that looks like, what accountability looks like, what lack of accountability looks like, and how can we enforce it in our community. And hear me, when I use the word enforce, it does not mean that we are forcing people to take accountability, because actually you can't do that. They have to experience the consequences of either taking accountability or not being inaccountable with regards to what their responsibilities and obligations are rather. So that's kind of what we want to do and continue that today because we have not finished. Listen, let me say this. Let me start with my centering moment this morning and bring us all into the room this morning. Y'all ready? Are y'all leaning toward this your device, your radio, your computer? Yeah. Are you sure? Okay. You know what? Humans do not like to be wrong. Yeah, that's the revelation. The reason why it is so difficult, because I got that question yesterday and I didn't have an opportunity to ask it, to answer it. Why is it so hard for people to be accountable? Because humans do not like to be wrong. Men, women, boys, and girls, just in case if you are confused about what humans are, they do not like to be wrong. They like to have a perspective that is unchallenged or it's shared. Say it again. They like to have perspectives. They like to do things. They like to craft ways. They like to, move in certain dynamics and without those things being challenged or with those things being shared. But the moment you begin to opine toward them being accountable for their opinion, accountable for their facts, accountable for what they just put out there, when you get in the comment section and say, hey, I don't think this is correct, then you begin to bring out a certain beast. You ought to watch how people react when you start going down the path of holding them accountable. Or when you come with a different perspective of how you see obligation, responsibility, or particular concept. Just kind of watch how their body and their language and their actions and their reactions begin to take form. I mean, some people turn into a whole different kind of being, and it's not human. They get upset. They begin to attack verbally ad hominem. They attack your person. You're talking about you're talking about the green grass, and they talking about your mama. Because people don't like to be wrong, and it's not. They can't even just say, you know what, I'm sorry, I'm whatever. No, they've got to add something that you did, or that you perspective, or they got to do something else because accountability is viewed in the very wrongest of ways. Accountability is viewed really as an attack. You remember I told you on Monday that the whole topic that James really put out was accountability and judging, that they feel like they're being judged when you don't agree with them. And when you don't agree with someone who has a perspective that's really kind of controversial or, really kind of provocative or taboo, in order to defend their position, in order to defend their viewpoint, no matter how crazy that viewpoint is, no matter how much truth you bring, knowledge, intelligence, academic understanding you bring to it, when they are holding on to something and they want to defend it, they will become violent. They will become rude. They will become vehement, and they will want to fight before they take accountability for the information that they have. See, because here's the thing. Just because you believe it doesn't mean that it's right. Let me say it again. I'm not saying what you believe is not right, but everything I believe is not correct. And one of the things about being a lifelong learner, which I believe every person should be a lifelong learner, one of the things that I think about that is that you have to know that when you meet the light, that darkness has to dispel. You got to let go of darkness. That once you meet the truth about a matter, or it's been clarified, no use to get offended. There's no use to be upset. No, take accountability for what you thought was, and now that you have found out that it's not, take accountability to apply the new information. Yeah. See, most people don't do that. They don't. They do not. And it doesn't matter what organization. You could be at work. It could be at church. It could be in an intimate relationship. It could be in friendships. It does not matter. It could be parent to child, right? Because I want what I think to be right. I want what I do to be right. I want to be the one who checks everybody, but don't want to check anybody. I was eye dropping because I didn't hear it, so it's not eavesdropping. But I was eyeing out a conversation on social media. And the person who posted a saying or posted this kind of comment at the onset or posted whatever they thought was, wrong as, just having shoes on the wrong feet. It's just, it was just blatantly wrong. And somebody came up under the post and said, well, yeah, I know what you're saying. I get it. Okay, but here is the perspective. Here is the science on this. Here is the idea of that. And the person who originally posted got hot, fire mad. They got back in the comments and they went, why don't you go such and so forth? And why don't you do such and so forth? So I'm like, wait, hold it. You put out a particular perspective on a public media access, a forum. And I didn't know that your post purchased my silence or that other person's silence. Because I didn't know the individuals, that they're just people who just showed up on my timeline. Sometimes those social media, those algorithms just show you up people and whatever, especially on Facebook, right? And you're sitting there like, wait a minute. And I was sitting there looking from an academic perspective. I was like, yeah, but what you said, the initial post, you just were wrong. I read it and was like, yo, that's absolutely not correct. But they were pushing back on it. They were fighting down in the comments. They were going off on people. They were using profanity. They were cussing. They were mad that somebody actually had the audacity, the mitigating gall to come on their post to hold them, number one, accountable to what they said, to say that, yeah, what you did say is bad information. It is absolutely incorrect, right? And here is the right information. It's not like the person said, oh, you're wrong. No, you're wrong because here's the research. Here's what the research show. Here's what the statistics show. Here's what the information and this person with no degree in the area that they're trying to talk about. They just have an experience and a perspective, perhaps. And they wanted to be right. They wanted to be ubiquitous. They did not want to be wrong. And when they couldn't defend their point as the person who was in the comments dealing with the point, coming against that point, they got upset. You know what? Because humans do not like to be wrong. They don't want to be challenged on their perspective, right? I think that's a part and parcel, now, not all, but part and parcel why a generation has a particular aversion against church. Because the idea of church, and that's why a lot of people deconstruct the Bible. They especially from our community, it's a white man's religion, which is absolutely incorrect. It's when they say that, I know when somebody's saying that they have not done the readings. I know when somebody says that, it's not so much that they have, borrowed a Eurocentric slaveholder mentality kind of situation. It's not like they've discovered and understand what the slave Bible is. I know they're borrowing that saying from somebody that said it, that also didn't know what they were talking about, right? Right. But that's kind of where they were in that piece. And so they'll get upset because they want to come to a place to where their opinions and their perspectives are fortified. They're supported. They're shared. And so when you come in and let's move away from Christianity, because we understand that Christianity has people in it that twist it, all that kind of stuff. So in my church, or when I'm talking to people, I very rarely use the term Christianity. I tongue in cheek it when I say Christian, because that whole idea of Christianity, that God did not send Jesus here to create a religion. He did not send Jesus Christ here to create a religion. He sent him here to redeem. He sent him here to establish a way. And initially, they were called the people of the way. Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And initially, in historical context, they were called the people of the way of Jesus. That's how. But they were first called Christians at Antioch. That's what the text says. And so we understood that was a Roman given name, right? So then there's that, right? Because we function by labels and all those different kind of things. And so this generation, as long as there's lights, as long as there are cameras, as long as there's action, as long as there's music, as long as there, all of these things that appeal to this whole idea of, activity and life and when I say life, excitement and, all that exuberance, Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. As long as you are life coaching me and you're talking about something that's going on in my life, me breaking up with my friend or this going on, or haters and all that. As long as you're talking about that, we good, and you'll have a packed place. But when you start talking about truth, when you start talking about and digging in and start talking about conduct, talking about responsibility and behavior, then you'll get, oh, well, no, they come there, they're judging me. They fussing. All that church does is fuss. All them people do is fuss. All that preacher does is fuss and come against people and all those kinds of things, right? Because again, the human nature, the human faculty believes that whatever it does is right, right? They believe that. And the text even supports it. It says, men do what is right in their own eyes. And that is the part, that prepositional phrase, in their own eyes. See, and what accountability does is that it makes you own what you see. It makes you own what you see. And when what you see is not really what it is, it also causes you or should promote you to say, you know what, I was wrong. I once was blind, but now I see. But if I'm going to continue to hold on to that, then I become an opposition to accountability. I become an opposition to light. I become an opposition to giving knowledge, upgraded insight, right? Because at the end of the day, all I want to do is be right, right? It's like two people in a relationship, and one person makes an accusation and the other person says, no, I didn't do that. Here is what's going on. And instead of that person says, you know what, I apologize. Instead of saying, you're right, I didn't do that. Instead of doing that, they're going to come up with something. They're going to try to find something, because at the end of the day, I don't want to be wrong here. I want my way to be right. And I want to be supported in that right. And I want you to say, listen, it's just like a man coming home late from work, and the wife is standing there and saying, who you went out with? Who were you out with? And it was like, wait a minute, I'm just coming home from work. And then he begins to ask, okay, well, since you know so much, where was I? Who was I with? I don't know, but no, you made the accusation, because we about to have an issue right here, because what you're saying now is you don't trust me. And instead of saying, I just don't trust you, you're going to make up some kind of element or some kind of experience or situation so you won't have to be wrong. And that is not taking accountability for your part in the matter. Absolutely. And so when we're dealing with accountability on any stage and any measure, that's why we started off with the definition. It means for you to be responsible or obligated to answer for your actions, your decisions, your behavior, your perspectives, and your viewpoint. There's a R&B singer that came out, and he was asked a question. He said, this whole idea of transgenderism, and he began to say, hey, I'm raising 7 kids. I think that children 5, 6, 7 years old, 12, and their teenage, when they're still formulating thought, when they are very impressionistic. That means that they begin to pull things from who other people are. They haven't really been able to have a power to make up their own mind, their own decisions. They don't know how to extrapolate facts. They don't know how to research truth. They don't know how to do anything. He says, I don't think that child that young should be able to make decisions that will one day affect their adulthood. I don't think that a 6-year-old ought to be able to come back from kindergarten, and he's a boy, he comes back home and says, I'm a girl, and then we all going to the doctor, and now we're having these surgeries and all that. He says, no, I don't believe that. And of course, I think he was using a little bit of hyperbole, because I don't think that those kinds of that kind of care happens at that young of age. But his thing is, I just don't think that they are cognitively, they haven't lived enough to be able to experience that, right? Okay, good, I get it. And he said that, and it got in the public square. And oh my goodness, it set out a barrage of people it does not want him to have his opinion, because he's got to be accountable for what he said. As a matter of fact, he came back after that interview, came back on another post, and he said, I'm going to double down. I'm going to be accountable for what I said, even if it offends anybody, And of course, because we live in cancel culture, he's like, this might be a time to be, it might be a time to be canceled. If this world doesn't need me, then I guess I'm going to live canceled. And people who had opposing views of his, right, instead of really dealing with the science or whatever their perspective, they began to attack him ad hominem. Of course, he didn't care, because you got to have tough skin out in these streets when you got an opinion, when you got a perspective and you put it online. People, they came out of the woodwork. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute, time out. If this man is going to be accountable to his opinion, to having his opinion, then you can have your opinion too. But it doesn't mean that that person has to agree with you. You just have to be accountable for your perspective. And everybody has to be accountable for their perspective, right? But the issue is that when we get into those positions of I am right at all costs, how I see it is what it is. When we begin to get to the place to where, that we begin to defend our perspective, and we don't care how far we go to do it, that we attack and all that is absolutely wrong. That is absolutely wrong. One of the things that we learned this week is that, hey, whatever action you put out there, you got to be accountable for it. That's facts. We can celebrate the Montgomery, boat brawl or however, we can celebrate that all we want as a community. But the reality is, when we get to the legalities, that everybody's got to be accountable for their own actions. You can't just come up and say, hey, I did this because I felt like it. I did this because this is how I perceive black people, that I perceive white. You can't just do that. And when it comes to the systems that are supposed to hold people accountable, did the man tell you to move your boat? Yes. Did you move your boat? No. Then you are accountable. Okay, here it is. Did you attack the man? Yes. Okay, then case closed. What are we talking about? Now you must be accountable for what you just did. You can't be like, well, the reason why I did it because I don't think this person is there. I don't think they got charged. No, you can't do that. You can MAGA or you can Black Power all you want to, but at the end of the day, your actions are connected to some degree of accountability. Actions are connected to consequences. And those consequences don't change because of how you feel. Right? No, you have to learn how to be accountable. And accountability, watch me now, accountability doesn't mean that you will always be right. You have to also be accountable when you are wrong. When you got the information wrong, you got to be accountable. When you did it wrong, you got to be accountable. When you're doing it wrong, you got to be accountable. When you decided wrong, incorrectly, you've got to be accountable. When you didn't treat that person right, you got to be accountable. You can't just you can't try to both sides, or when you did something wrong in 2023, you trying to pull up something from 2015 to equalize it. Now you done something where you did something back 2015. No, I thought you forgave me. I thought that was water under the bridge. So you mean to tell me you done kept this from 2015 and here it is 2023, 8 years later, and you're trying to think it's equal? No, you have to take accountable now. Just like you wanted me to take accountability, what? Then, when it happened in 2015, 2023, you got to be accountable. Yes. And again, that doesn't mean just when you're doing good. That means that when you are wrong, accept it, because that's the way that you change. That's the way that we allow new information, new methods, new ideas, new perspectives to come into our lives to change us for the better. And if you did something, whether good or bad, don't be afraid to say, hey, I did it. But guess what? Be accountable for that and allow other people to stand in their level of accountability without attacking them. Now, it takes a minute because that develops in a while. That you don't wake up like that, because as children, we are taught to either lie. No, I ain't do it. you opened mama's pot and you got a piece of beef stew. You know you did. Yes, you did. But as children, we start fearing for the consequences because we know they told us don't do that. We did it anyway. And instead of being accountable, what do? We lie. We lie because we're trying to avoid a spanking or punishment or whatever that's going to look like. Being fussed at. Yeah. And so we learn how to deal with fig leaves from the very beginning of our lives. And that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today, dealing with those fig leaves that we use to cover up to avoid being accountable. Because we don't believe that we have people around us that are merciful, that are forgiving, that are restoring, right? We believe that every action when we are wrong, when we believe that is going to come with something against us so unbearable. So what do? Instead of being accountable, we lie. Yeah. It's the woman you gave me. Now, Adam, I didn't ask what a woman was. I said, where are you? I asked how you got here. It's the what? Wait a minute. I thought that was bone of your bone and flesh of your flesh. I thought the two had become one. So now you're separate? Now, because you didn't have to eat. See, you didn't have to eat that fruit, and we're going to deal with that because you didn't have to eat. We need to understand the difference or between certain things that are universal in law and certain things that are in the realm of our free will. That there's choices that we make. There are things that we have decided for our own lives. There are things that we have selected to bring into our own hearts. Yeah. And we have to be accountable for our free will. Yeah. This is a democracy. Okay. All right. No problem. Okay. Well, since it's a democracy and you chose that, then when that thing turns out in an adverse way, guess what? Yeah. You got to own it. You have to own it. Don't lie about it. You own it. And there are people in our country right now that instead of being accountable and writing it and adjusting, making adjustments, making a pivot and doing what is currently right or what they should have done in the beginning, there are a lot of people that are willing to go down with the ship. Because what accountability does is help you survive even when you've made a bad decision. That's what it does. That's right. Listen, that's our centering moment. It's going to be a great day on the Culture Call. Listen, go ahead and get rehydrated. Pour you a little bit more coffee. You might need some after that, right? Get you some tea or water, and we'll be right back. Don't miss it.
This is a world premiere.
And we are back right here on the Culture Call with L. Spencer Smith on Praise 93.3 FM. And we are starting off this day, continuing part 3 of our discussion on accountability. Listen, let me remind you, 205-752-4800, 205-752-4800, or you can hit me up on the app. If you've got a question, a concern, a comment, whatever it is, we want to make this a vibrant conversation. Listen, as we talk about accountability, I don't want it to be removed from us, this whole idea of reciprocity, this whole idea of what I start or what I do has an action that comes back to me, right? That your actions are never exclusive to you. Let me say that again, that none of our actions are ever just exclusive to us. This is my business. This is what I do. This is my decision. This is my choice, right? I know we would like to think that when we make a decision, that it only affects us or it only is in the domain of our own person, that, what I decide doesn't affect you. But that is not always true. Matter of fact, that's very rarely true, that our decisions are interconnected choices that, yes, affect other people, right? That if I'm going through a situation and I decide to do something to myself, it affects other people around me. I know I did it to me or it involves just me, but guess what? Other people are affected. If I go and I disobey the law or I do something wrong or, that it affects me. Yeah, but it also affects those who are connected. Now my wife got to come get me out of jail, or she got to come see me in the hospital. My children are affected. My church is affected. The people that know me who are close to me are affected. You feel what I'm saying? So our decisions then require a greater level of scrutiny before we make them. Why do we do what we do? For what purpose? This is why you've got to gain control over this one word, feelings. Right. Yeah. You got to learn how to control your feelings, your emotions, those passions and desires, because you have to be accountable for your actions. And those feelings can deceive you and lead you down a path that is so very unhealthy. It will end up, it'll put you in a place to where like, oh man, I didn't even know that was the situation. I didn't know I was getting ready to do that. I didn't know this was getting ready to happen, X, Y, Z. And I just thought this affected me. No, it doesn't. We're working on a show now about suicide, teen suicide, young youth suicide. And in our research, that young person has no clue about the decision that they're making. And that's kind of what the artist was making an insinuation, that they're so in their moment and they can only process it on certain levels, right? And they don't understand that them committing suicide affects their parents, their siblings, it affects their friends, and all of those who are close. They're not considering that because it's their own personal pain. And I get it. Because there'll be some people, that's listening to me like, well, that is their pain. That is, we don't know what they feel. We don't know. I get it. Right. And those kind of people, I don't necessarily listen to, because you don't understand that we are a collective community, that we are connective, that you can't just make a decision and it not affect other people. You got to also be accountable and think about, what if I do this? Who is that going to affect? The text says, when it says things like, vengeance is mine, says the Lord, when it says stuff like that, I will repay. Because if we take vengeance and revenge in our own hands a lot of times, we don't understand that on the other side of that is an accountability factor, a consequence factor that's going to affect more than just us. We don't understand how that is going to affect us. That the truth, there is some level of truth in the proverb to some extent, that the father eats sour grapes, but the children's teeth are set on edge. Right. Right. In other words, that the things that our parents do, the foreparents do, have an effect on who we are. It causes us to be sensitive in an area. So where they were not sensitive, perhaps when they did it, it was bitter to them or sour to them. It has caused our teeth, the foundation of who we are, now to has an effect on us. And many people don't view life in that kind of circumspection. They don't view life in that kind of circle. That's why accountability is so important. That's why I've been saying all week that accountability is a business word. It's how you transact life's business. Yeah, it's how you treat other people. It's how you do a thing. It's how you think a thing. That's very important. If you're having an argument, or your children are having an argument, or your friends are having an argument, and somebody just comes into the office and just starts shooting up the place, you don't be like, oh, they just had a bad day, or they meant to hit this person, but they hit 4 other people. Oh, well, you're not going to say, well, they should only be accountable for who they were supposed to be hitting, but the other 3 people or the other 4 people, you just were in the wrong place at the wrong time. No. What the law says is that every person he hits can hold that individual accountable to the actions that they did. Right? And so one of the things that we really got to begin to understand in our community and really shape in every facet of life that we will face is that, yes, every system, every decision, every projection perspective, we have to understand, how is that going to affect others? You coming late on your job, you always being late, right? Now, how does that affect the team that you're supposed to be on? How does that affect the product that you're supposed to be doing? You're supposed to be producing. How does that affect the project that you all were supposed to submit to the professor, to the teacher? How does your lateness and your procrastination affect others? See, that's why before you even do an action, you have to think about it. There is something that precedes accountability, and that is choice and decision. It is really thinking about what you're going to do, before you do it. That's what it is. Think about it. Think about it. Think about it. Let me say it again, because I don't think some of y'all hear me in the back. I said, think about it, because your decision is going to have an effect on all of these things around you. And I know you're like, well, you give yourself excuses. Well, I'm just going to do it how I feel. I'm going to do what I want to do. Okay. But please understand, take accountability for all of the people that it affects, all of the systems and all of the things that take a turn when you decide to do this action. Don't absolve yourself from it, and don't try to. Well, I'm living my own life. You're not ever just living your own life. You're not just ever. Oh my goodness, you're not just living your own life. You are interconnected. You are part of a family. Whether you're a stranger or not, what goes on in your life is going to affect somebody. It is. And I don't care how we view it. I don't care how you look at it. The facts of the matter is that when you begin to function and you begin to mobilize and say, hey, I'm going to do this, you owe it to everybody. Got quiet. You owe it to everybody on who that decision is going to affect. Yes, absolutely. See, because we become so prideful and we become so egotistical, we become so self-centered that we think we can just do what we want to do, and it does not have an effect on the systems around us. See, Culture Call, hear me. You and I are part of a system, a particular biosphere. We are a part of something that is so much bigger than us. And when we don't regard the magnanimity, when we don't regard how we live and how we do our changes and how it affects other people, then that we are not living accountable lives. Are not. See? Yeah. When a student goes to school and does poorly in his class, you say, well, that's just that student. That student got an F. That student didn't do nothing. No, it affects everything, because guess what? There's a system of accumulating statistics and ideas and projections based upon the performance of the children, right? And if that F is going to get factored into somebody else's A, let me say it again. That F is going to bring down the cumulative total of all of the students. When others who have to use that data have to make decisions on school funding, school activity, all of those things. One of the things that my teacher said when we were in elementary school, and I used to hate it. Oh my goodness. She would say, well, the good got to suffer with the bad. Oh my goodness gracious. That irritated me. You know why it irritated me? Is because what she was saying is that everybody's got to be held accountable for the bad that other people do. That you mean to tell me, hold it, that this person can do something in class or not do something in class, and you're going to adjudicate it on everybody? Yeah. Now, Bishop L, that ain't fair. That's not fair. Well, it ain't no different than, you having siblings and your dad comes in and says, well, who did such and so forth? And none of y'all said anything. Now, watch the deal. None of y'all said anything, and you know who did it, but you didn't want to be a snitch. You know who did it, right? But you didn't want to tell. You know who did it, but you didn't want to get them in trouble. And so what does he say? Okay, well, I'll whip all of y'all. I'll spank all of y'all. Because now you have to be accountable to your silence. Now you find, watch this, y'all. Come closer. You are covering up for somebody who you know did wrong. You know that it was your sister that took them cookies out of the cookie jar. You know it. You saw them. You told them, ooh, you're going to get in trouble. And here it is. When the parent comes back and asks you who did it, you don't say anything because you're trying to preserve them, right? But then they flip it and say, well, okay, well, all of y'all going to get this heat. All of y'all going to everybody, you going to get the switch. Watch, you are protecting them, but they didn't even think about protecting you. See? Right. And so it's this whole idea of accountability. It's a community factor to this thing. It is a community factor to this thing. You know, and this whole idea of accountability and its corporateness and its community facility and its community aspect, we don't understand that this entire globe, especially this country, judges people, period, but black people in the community. Now, you ain't ever robbed, you ain't ever stole, you ain't ever cheated, you ain't ever shot nobody, you ain't ever had a drink on your lips, you never took drugs. But when they start talking about these things, they make all of us, in terms of the media, take accountability. We are accountable for it. And I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. That's when people say the church did such and so, those church got hateful people, the church did such and so forth, and that. How you do that? You ain't never been to my church. You haven't been to every church in the city. So how you know how other churches do it? No, go ahead and be specific. Be accountable to who you talking about. If you're talking about Brother Dan, say Brother Dan. Brother Dan did me this way over at New Way Christian Center. It ain't no church. Don't go Googling and trying to find it because ain't no Brother Dan and it ain't no New Way Christian Center. I thought I'd just add that in there. That was just for story purposes, okay? Listen, but they won't say who did it. They will put it on social media. I can't stand the church because, wait a minute, hold on. The church? You mean the whole universal church? You can't stand? You can't stand all preachers? You can't stand all teachers. You can't stand all professors. You don't know them. You can't stand all men. That was your first love. That was your first boyfriend. And he hurt your feelings. He dated somebody. But now all men? We don't even know you. What are you talking about? See, being accountable means that you also can be what? Specific to your decisions. You don't lump everybody in because everybody doesn't have anything to do with it. That issue that hurt you. People talk about church hurt. Okay, every church didn't hurt you. Everybody in the church, let's take it further. Everybody in the church didn't hurt you. Huh? Did and not. But you will blame it on the whole church and you will leave the entire church because you think that that's right to do. Right? And it's not. Being accountable to when you make decisions is the ability, and this is what the text begin to say. Hey, if you got an issue with somebody, go to that person. Be accountable to go to that person. Don't put this mass accountability. Now you mad at me, and I don't even know what happened. You mad at Sister Sue Ann, and she don't even know that you had a falling out in choir rehearsal in the alto section with Sister Jennifer. Now, what Sister Sue Ann got doing with that? She work in culinary. She's an usher. Brother Bill is the deacon. He locking up the church, but you're going to leave all of them. You're going to make all of them pay for that one because you won't be totally accountable to confronting and following certain order and following certain paths to make sure, things go, you get some level of resolution. And that's what I mean, that we live in a world that makes everybody accountable. So it ain't just your decision. It ain't just your life. This is my life, and I can do what I please with it. Oh, really? Okay, then. So here it is. A good man comes your way, but you still mad at Robert. Robert from 10 years ago. You mad at him still. Yeah, because he broke your heart. Oh, man, all men break your heart. All they do is break your heart. And then you get with other people that hadn't hold themselves accountable to this one situation, to their personal situation. And that's right, girl. All men do this. That's right, bro. All women are that. No, that is the problem in this generation. Because they don't want to take accountability to the specificity, to the specific situations that they're dealing with. No. If Derek made you mad, go to Derek. If Diane made you mad, go to Diane. Yeah, be accountable to that relationship. Be accountable to that person. Be accountable to that issue. But don't try to put so many people in it because your decisions now affect everybody. Now we're trying to figure out what happened to you. Now we're trying to figure out why are you mad at your supervisor, but you go into work cussing out everybody, shooting up the whole place. What is that about? What is that about? It is because we don't want to, number one, be accountable to being wrong. Number two, we don't want to be accountable in confrontation. And number three, we don't want to be accountable for being, watch this, specific. Who are you talking about? Don't be mad at everybody when you're talking about one individual. Let's try it again. Don't be mad at everybody when you talk about that one individual. I'm mad. And now you sitting home mad, or now you riding in your car mad, and you're plotting how you gonna get back at everybody, and everybody doesn't have anything to do with what happened. That is poor accountability skills. And the text makes each of us accountable to solving conflict. There's a right way, there's a wrong way, and then there is your way. And it's got some right and some wrong, and you got to fix it. You got to be accountable for the things you do and the actions you take in the resolution of certain matters. That's absolutely right. Listen, 205-752-4800, or you can hit me up on the app, chat it up. Accountability is what we're talking about. Why don't we like to be accountable? That's what we're talking about. Listen, got so much more to go, got a lot of stuff to deal with and talk about, but I need you to get you a snack. Go ahead. I know you're hungry. Get you a snack and be right back here. Don't miss it.
This is a world premiere.
And we are back right here on the Culture Call with Spencer Smith. It's the top of the hour. It's 11 a.m. and some change. Yeah, right here at Praise 93.3. Yes, and we are having an amazing day. I'm telling you. And I pray that you are, experiencing that. Yeah, I know I believe today is the first day the kids go back to school. Yeah, I saw a lot of pictures online, and I'm so excited about them. I'm excited for the teachers. I'm excited for the students. It's an opportunity to learn. It's an opportunity to grow. It's an opportunity to get better. And so, yeah, we definitely send out our prayers and our best wishes. We bid all of our teachers and our students Godspeed as they begin this incredible new year. Listen, we've been talking about accountability today and why is it very difficult for humans to be accountable. And I know we've started this conversation, but again, the more that we talk about it, the more that I begin to think about it, because I get it. We are humans and we don't want to be wrong. We want to do things and think that they float out in the ether, float out in the air. But please understand that every decision, every choice is connected to a particular consequence. And that consequence will sometimes come back to us in very interesting and multiplied ways. It will always come back multiplied. I think I told you the other day that in accountability math, 2 + 2 equals at least 5. It does not equal 4. It equals at least 5. You can always expect a little bit more from whatever you put out. So I think that's very important as we begin to talk about this whole issue of accountability. Because if we don't really deal with that and we don't get people to understand, hey, here is the deal. I want you to know that that if you don't do it correctly, if you don't do it right, if you live life very carelessly, if you live life in a way that says I'm just going to put stuff out there, but I'm not going to be worried about what comes back, that's a destructive way to live. And I think a lot of times in our community, especially the Black community, and with our youth, that they don't understand the terms of accountability. That, if you do a thing, consequences are connected to it. It may take a minute for it to find you. Let me say that again. It may take a minute to find you, but guess what? You are going to be found. Believe me when I tell you, you are going to be found. And I think that when we lose that notion, we lose that particular understanding that we're going to be found out, that when we lose awareness of that, then we'll just do things. Immaturity will do things. We'll make decisions about our lives and not be concerned about others. And that's a very, very dangerous way to live. So the whole idea of being accountable, of taking responsibility of actions. And we talked a little bit about this word deontology. Do y'all remember that? Deontology, D-E-O-N, tology, T-O-L-O-G-Y. The study of duty and obligation and responsibility. It is the bridge or the challenge or the perspective, let me say that, between isness and oughtness. There are things that we are doing, and there are things that we ought to be doing. And what accountability says is that you're going to be held responsible for both what you are doing and what you ought to be doing. That's how it's going to be weighed. That's how it's going to be viewed. That's how you're going to be graded and measured on what you are doing, have done, and what you ought to be doing or what you ought to have done. That is important. That's an important mathematics. That's important science. That's important language. You got to get it. I want you to get that culture call, because none of us just escapes this life without answering for the seeds we have sown. None of us escapes this life. Now, here it is. I think a lot of times, because of how we teach from a theological or biblical perspective, I think we think that all of our harvest are going to come in the afterworld. I think when we've created this idea of heaven and an idea of hell and all those different kinds of things, a particular theology, a particular ideology, if we can even say that, begins to understand that. Well, I'll get it in the afterworld. I won't get it on. No. The built-in principle, that's our bad interpretation. We have chosen to utilize poor human hermeneutics. That's just one level of accountability. We know that when people die, the text says that their works do follow them. We understand that. We are very clear, right? That we don't know how that's going to be equated. We don't know how that's going to be measured. We don't know how that's going to be evaluated or weighed, because nobody has really ever come back to tell us what that looks like, or even if it has occurred yet. But one thing we do know, that on this side of time, that there is always seed, time, and harvest. That's a text of accountability. We know that what we reap, what we sow, that's what we're going to reap. That is accountability. We know that whatever has been given to us is going to come back to be measured to see how productive of an individual we have been with that. That's the parable of the talents. So, yeah, on this side, that's not in the future. That is to give everyone a cautionary tale, give us an understanding, an admonishment, if you will, and an encouragement, because I think it's both, to make sure that we understand the actions that we put out, the words that we say. One of the lessons that my grandmother told me early along, was, she said, you got to be careful what you say, son, because you can't say, now, I'm a Gullah Geechee kind of guy. I'm from the low country of South Carolina. So it might sneak out in my accent every now and then, especially if I talk fast. So that's where it comes from, right? Nonetheless, she used to say, you got to be careful how you talk about people or what you say, because you cannot say "mout come back." You can't say "mout come back" now. That's how she used to say. You can't say "mout come back," and you can't release a word and say when you release it, you can't say "come back here." You can't tell the word to come back in my mouth as if you never said it. No, you have to be accountable for what you said, right? And so that's something that we've got to understand, that accountability works in real time, right? Yeah. The fact of the matter is there is, in accountability, watch this, in accountability, we also have to deal with what we call in theological circles and even philosophical circles, even better, this whole idea of morals and ethics. Morals and ethics. Because, and as it balances out with accountability. Why did you say that? Good. Glad that you asked. See, because we got to gain the perspective that, again, our actions are connected to a particular consequence. But then our actions are all going to be graded on the scale of what is moral and what is ethical. Okay, let me see. Let me use a biblical story, right? Okay, come close to Praise 93.3. Let me talk to you. When we understand that there is a whole idea about lying, telling lies, using, deceptions and all those different kinds of things. There's a particular aversion, divine aversion to that. Got it? Good. No issue. No problem. Well, Moses is born. And of course, there's a Pharaoh that doesn't know Joseph. Got it? Good. And so this Pharaoh, who's heard of this prophesied deliverer who's going to come, decides and says, hey, I need you to kill all of their babies. I need you to kill all of their babies. I don't need not one to be alive. I need you to kill all of them, especially the male children. No issue. So these two maidens, these two handmaidens, or these two what we call midwives, Pua and Shua, I think that's their names, that that Moses' mother has them, and they take the baby and they hide the baby. And when they are asked, watch now, when they are asked, did you have why didn't you kill the baby, or did you have, they was like, no baby, nothing happened. They literally lied. Moses did come. They hit him, right? And they told the Egyptian leadership that he didn't. Now, accountability says if they're lying, they should die, because they knew when they lied, they knew what was going on, they knew the consequence. But ethics and morality says, well, they weren't held accountable to that. And how did God view that? Did God hold them accountable for lying? See, that's another issue. Did he hold them accountable for lying? Or was there another grade he was grading by? Right? And I know I just added a different kind of spin to this whole accountability issue, but again, I think when we presume that we're going to find mercy and forgiveness even before we do wrong action, not knowing if you're going to fall into the hands of a system or a person that will give you grace and mercy, I think that is highly, highly risky and dangerous. See, because you don't know how that person is going to act. You don't know what the consequence is going to be. You have no idea and any clue of how this is going to come back to you. And so you can't play that game. There are young people right now, when you rob a store and you get something to eat, and you take it and you get caught because there are cameras everywhere. When the police come, should they have to take in consideration, listen to me, should they have to take in consideration that this young boy was hungry, this young girl was hungry, that's why they stole, right? And so does that system even take in accountability of the person's personal place in life, the person's personal condition? Right? See, when you're playing it like that, you're playing it too close to the third rail. See, accountability should not function like that. Accountability should not function that I do bad action or I do illegal action with the hopes that I might find grace from a jury or a judge. And they're going to absolve me because they're going to understand my reasons why I did it. And one of the things that I was taught when I was a child, now maybe y'all wasn't taught this way, is that sometimes why matters, but sometimes it doesn't. The issue is you did this action knowing full well what the consequences would be. And we have this whole idea of I'd rather ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission. Now that sounds really good, don't it? I'd rather ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission. Yeah, but forgiveness might not come. Forgiveness might not come. This person might attach a particular death penalty or particular imprisonment or penalty on the action that you took. Then in that case, it would have been much better to ask for permission, because at least I know where that individual stood. At least I knew where this ain't the place that needs to help me. See, because accountability is going to come. And you got to start thinking in levels of that, right? That lady that's winking her eye at you on that line, sir? Yeah, I'm talking to you. Yeah. But you got a wife at home, children that depend on you. And yeah, she presents comfort and a quick getaway from the pressures of life. You got to start thinking about what are the consequences going to be, because if it is found out, you're going to be held accountable. If it's not found out, you're still going to be held accountable. Accountability is always going to happen. Consequences are there, always. So you got to start thinking about that. You got to start thinking about it. I saw this one lady on social media, and she was doing an interview, and the lady asked her, what kind of man you want? And she says, well, this man, he can't be in his late 30s. And this was hilarious. He can't be in his late 30s. He cannot have children. He can't have that. And he has to have a great job. He has to have, at least making, $60,000 to $80,000 a year to, in order for me to date him. And so the interviewer was like, okay, she wrote it all down. She said, okay, well, let me ask you a question. She says, how old are you? 38. She wrote it down. She said, what do you make? I make $40,000 a year. Okay. Then she said, well, how many kids? Do you have any kids? She said, yes. Automatic. How many kids? Oh, I got 3 kids. But how many different daddies? 3. And the lady said, wait a minute, hold on. You want a man who's going to be accountable or to not have what you don't, what on your list of things, but you couldn't even measure. You wouldn't even date yourself if you were a man. This woman said, yes, but it's different. No, it is not. No, it is not. See, it's that grading, that classification of particular accountabilities that we don't want to face. No, can you be what you're requiring somebody else to be? How are you going to make me accountable for being friendly, but every time I meet you, you're nasty to me? You have an attitude. How does that even work? Because you're thinking that my actions does not matter when it comes to my desires, that you ought to take me as I am, and I'm going, take me as I am, and I want you to change before you take me as I am. What? Are you serious? You have got to be kidding me. Let me say that again. You have got to be kidding me. That's what we're doing today? That is hilarious. I mean, for real. That is functionally hilarious. That you're not even, see, that's not accountability, because it's not all going to add up to zero. It's not going to all balance out, because you're requiring me to come with no kids, making this amount of money, yeah, and not having this kind of past, but you got everything in your present that you don't want in my present, that I can't have to even talk to me. What? Ma'am. That's not accountability. I mean, and the interviewer laughed her off of the stage. But before you laugh, don't do that. Don't laugh yet. There are a whole lot of people today alive that view accountability and personal responsibility in that same way. You thought there is nothing wrong with the way your life turned out, but you're judging me based upon how I come to you. If I came to you 38 with 3 kids by 3 different baby mamas, and I came to you making $40,000, the identical circumstance that you find yourself in, you mean you're going to look at me like, nah, you don't qualify to be with me? Are you serious? But that's the way of the world today. And that is a sad tragedy, Culture Call. That's a sad line. That is a sad idea that people would literally think on that level. Because they're not thinking in terms of being accountable. They're thinking about in terms of getting what I want and feeling how I feel and you seeing it from my perspective. It should be an honor for you to be with me while I grade you and tell you all the things that are dishonorable about you. How does that even work? Yeah. And see, I believe, let's take it a step further. I believe it begins at home. I believe it begins with parents. I believe it's that whole level of accountability. I believe it's all of that. I really do. I really believe that if we don't teach our children at a young age how to be accountable, then we're going to miss a tremendous opportunity of giving them a life lesson that they cannot deny. Listen, I got a caller. Let me see who's on the line. I dropped that one. Hey, there you go. Culture Call, who am I talking to? Oh, okay. Well, I guess they dropped that too. Okay, no problem. no problem. Want to give you a chance to talk? Yeah. If you hung up or something happened, give me a call back. 205-752-4800, or you can hit me up on the chat. Listen, but I think it's foundational. I think that, yes. Now, here's what my mom used to say. If I buy this for y'all and I get this toy, I think our first pet, oh my goodness. And she let us have a dog. She asked my dad. My dad said, yes, they can have a dog. She said, okay, but now I'm not feeding your dog. I'm not cleaning up after your dog. All of that. No, the most I will do is take you to the vet to get the dog shots. That's all I'm going to do. But everything about this dog, you got to take care of. You got to be accountable for this dog. And I think, we were so excited about having this dog, a beautiful dog, all of that. But then the dog started being a dog. Our desire started being what we desired, right? What we wanted started being what we wanted. That a dog is hard to take care of. A little puppy, beautiful little puppy, but it pooped everywhere. It went everywhere, right? And, we had to make sure it's fed before we went to school, had water, had all of these different kinds of things. We had to build a dog house. We had to build a pen. We had to make sure this dog was our responsibility, y'all. And when listen, and you should have heard the conversations of my brothers and I, well, you going to feed it tomorrow. Because after a while, we got tired. We got tired of being accountable and responsible for our obligation to take care of that dog. Yes, we did. We started fussing with each other. No, you the one that asked for the dog. Now, it was all three of us that wanted the dog now. it was all three of us. But when the work got hard, yeah. And my mom and dad's like, nope, I'm not taking care of it. No, I'm not. Nope. How you going to feed it? I call the vet, find out when the shots, you can go get the shots and all that XYZ, ABC. And I know they were teaching us a lesson in accountability. And that is, if you ask for it, don't expect somebody else's effort to take care of what you asked for. Teach and hear L. Spencer Smith. Don't expect somebody else's energy to take care of your ask. Try it again. Do not expect someone else's energy to take care of or be responsible for your ask. You asked for it, guess what? Then you have the obligation to take care of it, and that is accountability. And that starts as children. Okay, I bought this Xbox, I bought this PlayStation, here it is. But now you must be accountable to making sure you've studied, making sure your homework is done, making sure that your room is clean, making sure that the kitchen is spotless or whatever other chores they do before you play this game. Because if here come consequences, if none of those things that your responsibility is not done, then I'm going to come into your room and repossess what I bought. What I refuse to do is to buy you a PlayStation and an Xbox and let you fail and let you flunk out in the name of your desired recreation. I refuse to clean up your bathroom. I refuse to make up your bed. No, absolutely not. I'm going to repossess. Nope, yep, because you told me if I got it, you were going to do it. Because you know how we are as children, as teenagers. Oh, Dad, if you get me this, I promise you. Mom, if you get me this, I promise you I'll do X, Y, Z. See, you're not thinking about accountability. You're thinking about what you want. And you are willing to lie and deceive and to twist. That's what children are doing, because we all did it. We all did it. If you do that, I promise you I'll have okay, no problem. I got you. No problemo. But now we get into these situations to where, oh wow, we get into these situations to where we forget about what we have to be accountable for. We forget. Yeah. And then when mom and dad come in and start unplugging that Xbox, you fussing and crying. But you ain't fussing and crying about the fact that you didn't make up your bed and you didn't clean up your room. See, it starts from the beginning. It starts with making them accountable for grades. You brought a C in this house, and that's my house now. My house, my parents' house, a C. What? It's time for a teacher's conference. Dare not bring a D or an F. Dare not. That's just the way I was raised, right? And they will tell you, okay, I'm going to do this, but if you bring this in my house, and they made us accountable for the grades we bought. They made us accountable for study. They made us accountable for the things. They gave us a lot of what we wanted. You know, when people say, well, I want my children to have what I didn't have. Wait a minute. But that doesn't mean that you don't hold them accountable. That's where you train it. Then when you don't do that and you give them everything that they want, they become so super entitled. Then they try to do that outside of your house. See, you got to start preparing folks, them kids, them teenagers, to live outside of your house, the world outside of your address. That's what you got to make them accountable for. That's exactly what you got to do. Yes. That's what you got to do. You got to make sure that these things are because listen, you can't give the police the excuse you're giving me. And you can't give the teacher the excuse that you think I'm going to pay attention to. And you can't do this. You can't get in a relationship and say, oh, I'm sorry I cheated. You want to stay with me? You can't do that. You cannot. We have to train them and rear them in the way that they should go, the way of the world, not in worldliness, but in the way of the world. Let me say it again. Not in worldliness. I'm not teaching you. I'm not telling you to let your kids run free and run wild and, do what they want to do, go into acts of lasciviousness and acts of licentiousness and doing all kinds of manner of things, robbing and stealing, pillaging and having illicit sex and all. That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about the way of the world, that the world judges on a different scale. And you need to make them know that where I had mercy about this situation, where I had mercy about this idea and this thing XYZ, the world may not have the same level of mercy. So you need to learn here, you mad at me because I won't let you look at TV because you didn't do your thing. Or you mad at me because I won't let you play this. Or you mad at me because I won't let you ride your bike. You're mad at me. I know it. I know you're mad. Good. But be accountable for what you did not do. Be accountable. Let me try it again. Be accountable for what you did not do. What was your part in the matter? And did you fulfill what? Your obligation. Because if you did not, then you're simply being what? Held accountable for your part. That's not hard. That's not hard science. It's hard to accept, but it's what we need. And so we're dealing with a lot of privileged and entitled and selfish adults because they were raised that way. They had that on them when they left their mamas and their daddy's houses. They're expecting you to do everything because that's what was given to them. That's what a whole lot of folks are entitled because they were allowed to do that. They were allowed to throw temper tantrums. They were allowed to slam doors. They were allowed to scream and holler and do what they wanted to do. A whole lot of these people we call Karens that just can't mind their business and getting in the phone. And no, they're entitled. And then they're going to meet the right person. And then when they get knocked out or knocked down or somebody retaliates, then they play the victim. No. Accountability says you can't play the victim when you started the fire. You can't blame the fire for burning down your house when you were the one that was playing with matches. Let's try it again. That's why they call it arson, because arson says that you started the fire. You're trying to blame the fire. The arsonist is accountable for the fire. The fire would not even exist if you didn't light it. And that's how we got to start teaching our children about accountability and consequences and owning up to their actions. It's so very important. Try it again. It is so very important that you do that. Start a foundation of accountability with your grandchildren or your children or your nieces and nephews while they're young, because when they get old, they won't depart from that way. And they'll be able to think about the choices that they make and understand what those repercussions will be when they don't do what is required. Listen, this is the Culture Call with L. Spencer Smith. We're having a great day, aren't we? Yes, absolutely. Praise 93.3 FM. Got some more to go. Got some things to say. Got some structure to give you, and I don't want you to miss it. Okay? Good deal.
This is a world premiere.
And we are back. That's right. We are back right here on the Culture Call. Yeah, that's where we are. Praise 93.3 FM, having a wonderful day. And I'm telling you, this whole conversation of accountability is something else. And I'm telling y'all, hit me up already. And we've got a great day moving forward. We got a great aspect of what we want to finish this whole idea. Because I think y'all have had enough of accountability. I think y'all had did y'all? Yeah, I think so. But before I go, I want to share some points with you about how I'm getting this in the app and I'm having everybody, how can I hold myself accountable? What do I have to do to really become an accountable individual? And I want to share that with you. I want to say some things concerning that. But I want to do it because I got a caller real quick. Let me get this caller and let me see what they got to say. All right. Hey, you're on the Culture Call. Who's
Hello?
this? Who's this?
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, I can.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing? Who do I have with me today? Oh, my goodness. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Hello, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Oh, my goodness. Well, I don't know what's going on with their line, but I can hear them. But nonetheless, I wanted to give you some aspects of how can I hold myself accountable. Because one of the things is that you cannot hold other people accountable. You cannot force them to be accountable. They're just going to have to live out the consequences. That sometimes that's your part. That holding them accountable is to mete out the consequences to whatever they do. But on the front end, all you can do is inform them of their responsibilities, of their obligation, but you can't force them to select right action is what I'm really trying to say. And so one of the things that I believe in making yourself and holding yourself accountable is dealing with self-reflection. Who am I? What kind of person do I want to be? What kind of mark do I want to leave? What kind of what kind of integrity, what kind of character, what kind of name, there it is, that I want to make for myself. What is that? What do you want to be ultimately known for? Yeah. See, because if you don't begin to do that, then you won't begin to measure your outcomes and or your actions and your outcomes. Let me say it like that. That if you don't measure your actions and your outcomes, if you don't understand from the very top, this is what I want to be known for. I want to be a person of character. I want to be a person of integrity. I want to be a person that is known around my community as someone whose word is their bond. I want to be an individual that when people call my name, they say, hey, that's a good man. That's a good woman. You can trust them. That they are a person that functions to the highest level of being. They're respectful, all of that. You have to start from that. And out of that, you begin then to break down. And I'm really doing my hands like it's a chart. You have to then break down and say, okay, in order for me to do that, I've got to measure and weigh my actions, and I've got to calculate the outcomes, the consequences for the actions that I do. Now, why is that important? Glad that you asked. That is important simply because those are the things where your accountability scale is going to function. Yeah, that when you self-reflect and you you do an introspective look, what are those things that are in me that might hinder me from, keeping my word? That might, what are my triggers that might, cause me to blow up or be angry or, say things that are not altogether, good. Yeah, you got to start adding all of that up. And then you say, okay, let me weigh my actions and my consequences. Before I do anything, make it a habit of thinking about, if I do this, these are the things that could happen. If I do this, these are the things that could happen. If I don't do this, right? That's where deontology starts happening. That's where you start thinking about and studying your duty, your obligation, your responsibility. That if I do this, this may be the outcome. And then you have to start assessing that. Can I handle this outcome? And I know that that's from both a positive and negative experience. That if I go to my job and I say this like this, here is the outcomes that may happen. I may lose my job. I may get written up and reprimanded or warned, right? I may get sent home. Or if I do this, I may get rewarded. I may get a promotion. I may become team leader. See, you have to start doing it. You cannot start from the aspect of simply giving yourself your own desire. No, you got to start off talking about or thinking about, what kind of person do I want to be known for? Do you know that? Because we all can say, I want to be known as a good person. I want to be known as this kind of person. I want to be known as an effective person. I want to be known as a person that's always on time. I want to be known as a fair person. Okay, good. That's a good place to start off with. But those words got to turn in now to how I decide to live out my daily actions. Yeah. The words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart have to line up, have to be equal. You can't just say it with your mouth that I want to be accountable, I want to be integritous, I want to be a person of high character, and then your actions or what's in your heart is to devise craftiness and evil and violence. You can't. No, that's not how it works, because life is going to flow out of the issues of your heart, right? That's how your life is going to turn out. That which flows through from your heart. So your life looks like what's in your heart, not what comes out of your mouth, not what you say, but what's in your heart. So you've got to do the work of figuring out what is in my heart, what is in my soul, what is in my mind that would hinder me from being this kind of individual. That's what you got to start from, that basis, from that point, right? And then when you do that, you also have to get a system of peer accountability. Now, this is where I want to go with this one. Because, yes, I'm holding myself accountable, but my company has to have permission from me also to hold me accountable to what I'm holding myself accountable to doing. Right? That's the reason why many people get trainers when they go to the gym. Right? Because they got I guess a subscription to Planet Fitness or to what's the other one, Crunch, or wherever they are. They want to lose weight. They want to look a certain way, X, Y, Z, A, B, C. And so they get up and they go and they put all these apps on their watches. They get an Apple Watch. They get all these things. They put apps on their phones. They get all of these apps because they're trying to hold themselves accountable. Great. But then they get a trainer, because that trainer then comes behind them to hold them accountable to what they said that they were going to be accountable for. right? You got to create a group or a person that can pick up the phone or text you or have a conversation with you and say, did you do exactly what you said you were going to do? Are you holding up your end of the bargain? Yeah, that's the part we don't like. And that person, you can get mad on them, but you have to make sure that those are people who you can trust, that have your best interest at heart, and that they have so much your best interest at heart that they are willing to confront you when you do not do what you are supposed to do. When you're not being accountable to having high actions for your life, then you got to have some people around you. They call that peer accountability. You got to have some people that are around you that call you in on it. They say, hey, girl, now you know what? Yo, no, that's not right. You got to have somebody say, yo, bro, do that a different way. Or you should not have done that. And you, watch this. If the accountability team is going to work, you cannot be arrogant and prideful as to not listen to when they are holding you accountable. I'm talking to that person in the back, in the cheap seats. Coach called that, yeah. Not the folks on the front row only. I'm talking about you who are in the cheap seats sitting in the back pew. That's who I'm talking to, because you can't get mad when the team you put together to hold you accountable starts holding you accountable. You can't be whataboutism and both side-isms. Right, and you shouldn't have anybody on your team that you can't hold accountable as well. Right? So you got to learn how to do that. That's how you begin to deal with personal accountability. That's what we ought to all have. You know, I'm the kind of person that always says rebuke and reprimand should not come from someone that's not in relationship, because the relationship will determine how I perceive your rebuke or your reprimand. You're not just going to come walk up off the street and telling me what I'm doing wrong, and we have no relationship. I don't know you. I don't know you enough to trust you to have observed my life and observed my actions to that degree to where I'm going to really change my behavior, my aspects, my ideologies, all of those, my perspectives. I don't have that kind of relationship with you. And so those people who make up a part of your peer accountability team need to be people that you trust, need to be people that you have a relationship with, and not just some, taciturn, lax relationship, but you are in active pursuit of friendship together, right? So that when they say something, you can trust that they have observed your life. You can trust that they know the situation. They know the kind of person you are. They know the kind of personality you have. They know the goal that you're trying to reach. Yeah. So that when they you know that they're paying attention. So that when they say something, they're like, no, because you know that's how you always are. That's how you that's how you do things. And I'm just saying that's not right in this situation. And you need to be able not to get mad, not to slam the phone down, not to block them on Facebook. Because you need to open up. Because when you get on Facebook and post and push before you push send, you have to have certain people. I send what I'm going to say before I even say it. There's certain people that do that to me as well. Before they post, certain pastors, my pastor friends, they send it to me. We've got little groups that say, should I put this? Can I do this? And we be like, no, you can't say that. Doctor, no. You can say it if you want to lose your church. You gonna say it if you want members to leave your house. You can say it if you're ready for that heat that's gonna come from that statement. Yeah, you can say this to us, but you can't say this to them. I understand the frustration of what you're talking about, but you can't put this on a public forum, sir. Reverend Doctor, you can't do it. And most times, 99% of the times, they listen. And we'll say, hey, say it like this. Post it like this. Look at it from this perspective. Who are you trying to target? Is this just a general post, or is this something specifically going on in your church? Because guess what? If it's something specifically going on in your church, don't post it. Because folks ain't going to, do y'all hear me? Do not post it. Don't do it. Because you're going to have folks, and it's going to create systems. After you get away from this frustration, this anger, it's going to create systems of rebellion, because they're going to be like, well, who he thinking? I wonder who he talking to. And then people are going to start, guessing and all kind of stuff. And you don't need that kind of energy while you're trying to accomplish vision. But see, if they were just reckless and didn't want to be held accountable, they would never submitted that. But the fact that they say, what should I post this, says that I want to be held accountable because my name is up here and I don't want to post one thing. Do you know one post can destroy your reputation and character? So you got to be accountable to that because people who don't even know you're going to weigh in on it and give their opinion. So you always got to think about that. Get you a peer team, some people around you that can remind you of the you said you wanted to be. Did y'all hear that? That get some folks around you that can remind you that you have no problem with reminding you that you can acquiesce and you can submit to their rebuke, to their correction. Get those kind of people around you. Yes, absolutely. Get them around you and let them help you build a better personal accountability system for your own life. I promise you, it will make a difference. I have them all around me. I have them, those people who I can talk to when I'm like, hold me accountable to what I just said. Okay, no problem. No issue. Everybody's got to have them. If you're going to work on and strengthen your personal accountability status, you got to have a personal accountability team. You got to have a peer, accountability team to help you navigate. Listen, this is L. Spencer Smith right here on the Culture Call, Praise 93.3 FM. It's been a great day. Got a little bit more to go. Don't miss it.
This is a world premiere.
Well, it has been an amazing day on the Culture Call. And y'all ain't playing fair. Y'all hit me up on this app talking about, no, don't end accountability conversation. Don't do that. Y'all, it's been 3 days. What you want me to do? I am so glad and grateful you guys are enjoying the conversation we're having about accountability. Somebody just sent me a list of questions on my Facebook page, on the Culture Call Facebook page, and I'm telling you, I was like, oh my goodness. So this is going to be day 4. I'm going to have to go again tomorrow. I don't know. We'll just see. We'll see. I had something else planned, but we'll see how it works out. I'm glad that you all, and grateful that you all have been paying attention and really enjoying this conversation because I think it's really needed for our community, needed for our city, our state, needed for this world, especially in this generation. That there seems to be a level of gap between our desire and our accountability that we really need to see some, deontological studies on what people's obligations and responsibilities are and the multi-tiered levels that I'm not just responsible for myself, but I live in a community and I live in a family and I live in a system of relationships that rely on me being a man of my word, me being accountable to them. And whether I think I am or not, or whether I should be or not, is irrelevant when it comes to the everyday responsibility that we should have to be accountable to each other, to be accountable to ourselves, to be accountable to God, to our faith in Him, to what we say we believe. I think that's where maturity and growth come in. That there's a requirement. This accountability is a skill. It's a lesson. It's an attribute that we all must learn. And as I opened up this broadcast this morning, I said simply is that humans don't like to be wrong. Humans like to have the courage of their convictions and the power of their own perspective, regardless of what it means, regardless of how it offends. They love their own truth. But maybe real truth stands outside of you and I and begins to tell us, your life, however, is going to be measured by this truth. I don't care how much you believe you can fly. Guess what? When you jump from that building thinking you got wings, you're going to fall at 9.8 meters per second. That's just kind of the way it goes because we've got to be held accountable. Gravity is not going to submit to your truth. You got to be accountable to gravity because that's just kind of how the universe and the laws of God work. Absolutely. And so, let's practice being people who are accountable. Let's practice that today. It's necessary. Let it begin with you and me. Listen, we're at the end of this broadcast, but as my grandmama and my mama would say at the end of every phone call, I love you a bushel and I love you a peck. And I love you a hug around the neck. Until tomorrow, another day at 10 a.m. We'll be right here on the Culture Call with L. Spencer Smith on Praise 93.3. Stay cool and stay at peace. God bless.